everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and this week's contract tip has to do with the notice section in the 2017 GAR contract forms. So on paragraph C1 is where it discusses notices. And basically what it says is that notice may be delivered. I'm just going to talk about email notice right now. Well, any kind of notice. Notice must be in writing, legible, and signed by the parties. Notice serves when it is done in person, when it is mailed by certified or registered U.S. mail to the person at a mailing address, or when it is also mailed by overnight or courier or delivery service to that person, or email or fax. And the contract also states that the person delivering or sending the written notice doesn't necessarily have to be the one that the party, the buyer or the seller, the party that's actually giving the notice. So it further goes on. This is the point that I want to get to, is the part about when a broker is, or you as the affiliated licensee, is authorized to receive notice on behalf of the party. So specifically, what the contract states, and again, this is paragraph C1C, when broker is authorized to accept notice for the client. And basically what it says is, except when the broker is acting as dual agent, then the broker and any affiliated licensee of that broker representing the party in a client relationship shall be authorized agents to the party, and notice to any of them shall for all intents and purposes herein be deemed notice to the party. Now, that can be happen based on, again, it still has to be written, it still has to be signed by the party, meaning the buyer or the seller, but the notice can be sent to the physical address or the fax number or the email address of that authorized agent as set forth herein, meaning in the contract, or later provided by the authorized agent. Except as provided for herein, the broker's staff at a physical location is also able to accept notice on behalf of the party. So a staff member at a specific broker's office can also receive the notice from the party, and that is deemed acceptable notice as being able to be received by the broker. Now, the broker, staff, and affiliate licensee of the broker shall not be authorized to receive notice on behalf of a party in any transaction in which a brokerage engagement has not been entered into with the party, or in which the broker is acting in a dual agency capacity. In the event the broker is practicing designated agency, only the designated agent of a client shall be the authorized agent for the purposes of receiving notice. So what does all that mean? Well, here's what it means. In a dual agency, in a designated agency situation, the broker or the broker staff may not accept notice, only the actual designated agent for that client. The other thing is, it says it has to be per the address, email address, or fax number per the contract. So on the signature page of the contract, make sure that the physical location, the physical address, the email address, and the fax number, make sure that you as the agent are checking that, because that is what serves as legal notice. So for example, let's say you have an email address given to you by your brokerage. For example, dana.sparks@maximum1.pro, but let's say I actually conduct business under another name, dana@theTimeToMove.com. Whatever I am actually on a daily basis conducting business by email, that email address really should be the one that is printed on the contract. Because if I have my Maximum One email address printed on the contract, but I never check it, I need to check it, because that's the only email address that will serve as legal notice per the contract. So you can always change that section in your preferences in FMLS and Georgia MLS. So just make sure that the email address that prints on the contract and the fax number and the mailing address, the physical address, just understand that legally those are the places that serve as legal notice. So that's number one. The second issue is You as the agent or the broker may only accept notice on behalf of the party if and only if you are representing them in a client relationship. If you are working with that party in a customer relationship, then notice to the agent does not satisfy the terms of notice per the contract. Notice to the customer has to go directly to that customer. So, point of practice. First thing you guys should do, when you get a contract, on page 1 at the bottom where you have the agency section, if you see the brokerage relationship in the transaction, when you see the selling broker is such and such, the listing broker is such and such, you need to look at those columns underneath. And if it is marked not representing buyer or not representing seller, buyer is a customer, seller is customer, then the very first thing you need to do is you need to flip to the signature page and make sure that you have contact information directly for the public person that is being represented by the firm in a customer relationship. So you need either one of those three things. You either need the customer's email address, fax number, or physical mailing address. And if all you have is their physical mailing address, then notice must be sent by certified or registered mail to that person or by courier or overnight service. So that doesn't mean you bypass the agent working with the public in a customer relationship. It just means that to satisfy the terms of notice per the contract, notice must be delivered directly to that customer. If you see on page 1 that the brokerage firm is working with the public, but that relationship is a customer relationship, again, first thing you need to do is flip to the signature page, make sure you have one of those three forms of contact. If not, still negotiate back and forth with that agent, with those people to make sure that you get one of those three pieces of information. Now, if the broker is working with the buyer and the seller in a dual agency capacity, then the same thing. You also need the actual public people's contact information for purposes of notice, either their email address, fax number, or physical mailing address. So just a quick thing on notice, y'all need to pay attention to that. So for example, here's an example where this comes into play. Let's say that you are working with the seller, the firm is working with a seller, public seller, but in a customer relationship. So let's say they've signed an authorization to show unlisted property, and so one firm is working with the seller as a customer, buyer is working with the firm as a client. Let's say the buyer is going to terminate within the due diligence time frame. Well, you buyer's agent, you need to make sure to send that termination notice prior to the end of the due diligence time frame, not only to the agent that is working with the public seller as a customer, but in order for it to satisfy the legal terms of notice per the contract, that termination or any notices need to go directly to that customer. So again, it doesn't mean you can bypass the agent, but it just means for satisfying notice must go directly to that public person. So at the beginning of the contract, that's why it's so vital to make sure that you have that person's email, fax, or address. And if all you have is their address, you need to make sure that that termination notice gets to that person, is delivered by overnight or courier or U.S. registered certified mail prior to the expiration of your deadline. So something to pay attention to in your contracts. That's why I say get it negotiated up front before you go under contract so you have all that information that you need. Thank you so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.